Hello, and welcome back to another captivating episode of Experts and Experiences. I'm Tiffany Liu, Internal Vice President of Blockchain at Berkeley.
And I'm Brent Friedman, Head of Education at Blockchain at Berkeley.
We're excited to have you join us once again as we delve into the realm of innovative technology, shining a spotlight on groundbreaking companies in the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator.
With Blockchain at Berkeley leading the charge in the blockchain industry, the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator continues to foster the growth of pioneering startups, propelling them to success in the ever-evolving landscape of technology.
Today, we're privileged to engage in conversation with the mind behind LoopID, Alexis Gamboa. Alexis, it's a pleasure to have you join us. How are you doing today?
Thank you for the invitation. Absolutely a pleasure. Doing great. Getting better. The weather here in Munich. So that's always good. How about you?
Doing well. The same here. The weather's getting pretty good in Berkeley. I guess we could start with a little intro. Could you please introduce yourself and your role within LoopID?
Yeah, of course. I am the technical co-founder. I don't like to call CTO because usually it doesn't make sense if you don't have a few dozen people on the organization at least. I take care of the development and architecture of the solution. And LoopID is open infrastructure for the circular economy, which I'll be happy to go further because I've noticed circular economy might have different connotations between US and Europe, and also between blockchain communities in specific.
Yeah, definitely. Then without further ado, let's ask what is the circular economy, and what exactly is LoopID?
So circular economy, it's basically changing the paradigm of the linear economy that we are used to, which is buy, use, and basically throw away. We believe one of our strong assumptions is that this way of doing business is gonna become unviable, and that is gonna transition into a circular one where there is different ways to recapture that product and recapture value. Many times people associate circular economy simply with or being circular with recycling. But there are many other cycles where, by, for example, extending the life cycle of the product, by repairing, by having product as a service. There are many things that can extend the life cycle and having like these smaller cycles that it's also circularity and that also improve to these systems. And what we do in LoopID, many of this is new for companies. How do they transition? Because it touches basically every aspect. It's a circular transformation that touches every aspect of their business. And there is a lot of experimentation. So what we have done is we started by building end-to-end solutions to these companies, and then we noticed, hey, there is a lot of overlap on what this company needs or how to trace most of these processes through the product itself. And we notice, oh, there is also a lot of regulation coming. We see that a lot of people is going to have to build similar things. Why don't we take the core of our solution and make it open source so others can build on top? So basically, what we're doing right now is we're working on this open source core infrastructure that we host ourselves. So companies can simply use our cloud solution. Companies can come and say, I want something customized, so we can build it using this core. And other companies in the very near future will be able to simply take this source code and self-host it or build themselves on top, so that they can also contribute to the circular economy.
Got it. Okay, so I guess then, how did the idea for LoopID come about? And I guess what motivated you to start this venture?
So basically, it came from different aspects. Before, I've been working in digital twins already for a long time. I got crazy about this idea of open data, and basically I always had this idea of, with API economy, how is it possible that there is not simply a API for anything where I can ask anything about the real world? Then I met in a program here in Munich that is very popular, called CDTM, the Center for Digital Management Technology Management. An alumni called Christian Adler, and he saw my experience. He saw that I've been working with digital twins and with some specific set of technologies. He contacted me, and he had the same idea. And basically, this is the beginning. Here is where we got together, and we started with this idea of the digital twin of everything, and we then found, like, okay, where this can have the biggest impact, and we saw the circular economy is one of them. So this is a bit of the origin, and then it also fits very well from our values. I come from Costa Rica, and the sustainability is a very important topic, and Christian is also very compromised with it. He has been vegan for many years now, and we saw, well, this is actually there is a big transformation coming. It's a good mix of our capabilities, and also from a market that is soon coming, and we feel extremely motivated because from one side, the technology that we're using is exciting in itself, and what it enables, and also from the side of the positive impact that this can have.
Yeah. It sounds like a large part of your vision is about that open source technology. So could you elaborate on what LoopID's approach to that is?
Absolutely. So, because of many of the regulations that are coming, we have seen that there are already some alternatives to say, oh, I want to have um, take my product and create some kind of ID of it that others can read, and the data that it has, and can interact with it. Or I want to make, for example, one of the cases that prototypes that we built, a take back system, to make it easy for you to return a product at its end of life, so that the company can be in, for cases of refurbishment or recommerce or recycling. And we thought, if everyone is going to have to do this, it's also circularity and sustainable to reuse code, and not have everyone reinvent the wheel. And this is when we decided, well, this is not going to be a one platform thing. There are so many stakeholders that are going to have to be involved, and we saw some competitors out there that have this monolith approach of, we have everything, we're another data silo of the solution. We said, actually, in this case where we have stakeholders like recyclers, like the producers, the repair shops, the open the better, and we want to contribute to that collaboration. So this is a focus that we have, and this is also a differentiator where we really want to push forward, because we believe that circularity needs an open ecosystem.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I guess if you're kind of developing this product that brings in a bunch of different parties, I guess, how does LoopID engage with this community in developing and improving its technology for this circular business model?
So right now, we're a very young startup. Officially, we started around March. We are starting to build this community, and this is also I'm very happy to have this opportunity. We have many companies, so we're basically trying to mix and match the companies and the needs that they have for solutions for circular economy, and also the people that are working on these solutions and developing these solutions that could potentially do it. And also the parties that might benefit from it, that maybe it's not directly the brand, that is creating products, but also a recycler, for example. So right now we have very good connection with the ecosystem of at least the circular ecosystem here in Germany. We're part of Circular Republic, that uh, it's an initiative here from Montenemetum. I know it doesn't say a lot in there, but here it's in Europe is one of the main entrepreneurship hubs and startup hubs in Europe, and we already have this connection with them. And now and also with startups that start to see, oh, what you have will be very helpful with us, or oh, this will solve an X problem that we have to identify a product, for example, or oh, this will help a lot on to automatize some of our recycling processes. So we are building this dialogue, and we're bringing them together, and we will also say, hey, there is an open source system that you can use to start integrating your solutions. So this is something that we would like now to invite more developers and builders, so that they can support. If you are interested into building in the circular economy, sustainable solutions that involve the product itself, then shoot me an email, shoot me a message, add me LinkedIn. Feel free to spam me. I'm happy to share and to integrate into this community that we are just start building.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you have a lot to offer to these companies that use your technology. What about the other way around? So, like, what role do you see the community playing in the future development and evolution of your technology?
It's definitely crucial. One of the main aspects is when we talk about protocols, right, and how can we communicate? Because when we talk about collaboration, not only at the time of building, but also in the time we need to connect all of these systems within these different parties. And anyone that has ever had to interact with an ERP and try to connect it with a different one, or with one of these data silos of the different companies, many times even within the company, knows the struggle when you have to somehow interconnect some of these data sets. And uh, one of the main things that also the regulation is pushing is, well, if you're going to have things, for example, all the history of events of a product, how are you storing this? Where are you storing this? Who can read it? Who has access to read it? How can this work? All of these definitions, well, the regulation says, oh, it should be open standards as much as possible. You need somehow to say, okay, let's start somewhere. Let's start with some definition on how to do it. We make a proposal. We basically build in a way that we say, hey, here is the default way that we propose, that we have seen. But of course, you can add your own way on top of it. And this is the key aspect of the community where they can say, well, actually, this is how we think the solution should look like. This is how we think, for example, a take back should look like. This is the best practice. These are the best steps. These are the best protocols. This is the best storage. This is how the history of a product should be stored. This is how we should verify it. All of these questions are still open. Even the European Commission, with all the resources, have not been able to simply say, this is the best way. This is something that we have to figure out. And this is going to be shaped by the community, not by a single platform that decides anonymously how things are going to be structured.
Got it. Okay. So I guess I kind of wanted to dive a little bit into like the technical side of the product. So I guess the first question that comes to mind is what is the incentive for a company to join the circular economy in this model?
So this is a very, very important question, and this is something that we get a lot. We cannot go around and simply saying, hey, let's implement circular business models because they are nice and they sound good and it's about sustainability. That doesn't work, right? That might get you from some PR project, but that is that's not financially sustainable. It needs to have an impact. It needs to have it has to be in a way that it also makes money from the companies. And right now, it's a bit hard to see how we can achieve it. But there is one of the key aspects, and this is also part of our vision and our core beliefs. We have to detach value or creating value in a company from selling new product. It cannot be that it can only scale one with the other. And this is one of the incentives to start exploring and start experimenting with circular business models. Once, because there might be regulation that simply kills the way of doing business by just selling new stuff, and not worrying about the implications of what comes behind that. Another one is simply because of competitive advantage. Something interesting. I honestly have not checked the data to know if this is accurate. But I was checking on Elon Musk once mentioning about they were declaring Tesla debt very early because they said it's impossible for a new car company to start because many car companies actually sell the new cars at close at cost, and they make the margins on the millions of cars that they already have, the float of cars that they already have sold through decades, and they make the money with a margin of spare parts. So that's why a new company, a new car company just selling a few cars could not enter the market because it would be impossible to compete since they don't have this big float. This is an example. Again, I'm not absolutely sure of the numbers if that's really the case, or probably yes, but at what extent? But this is an example where you can detach. Okay, it's actually not about just selling more products, but also about the services that you can build around. So this is a few of the reasons why companies will like to start transitioning into circular business models.
Yeah, that sounds great. So once they decide that they want to, transition to these circular models, how does LoopID automate the setup of these circular flows?
So once you decide on, okay, we want to implement circular business models, it changes a lot between industries, of course. One of the things that we do for our customers is we set up a pilot where we help them to say, there is a big plethora of different circular business models that you might try. And then we basically help them shortlist, okay, which ones are the ones that makes the most sense. So if you're a shoemaker, probably repair services is not something that is very high on your list. Depending on the shoe, of course, but running shoes, usually it's not, there is not a lot of value to capture them to make them, or to make it worth it to repair them, sadly in many cases. But something like, okay, re-commerce, or taking them back to enable, to, if they contribute on the taking back and re-commerce, they might claim carbon credits, for example. One of the things, once they identify, okay, which are the use cases, one of the most interesting things that we found out is the product must be at the center in this case. And being able to trace the product, to trace the history of the product, it's a key element on most of these processes. And specifically that the let's say the identity of this product digitally is the same from party to party, right? So if I have the shoe, it's not a row in a database from one system and a completely different one in a different system. So right now, the core of the solution have this traceability aspect already. So this facilitates immediately because it's like, oh, we need a way to trace a product. We already have it, right? So this is just one example. Another one is the centralized take back, where basically we have some batches that are in essence just a cold wallet, and you have a mechanism for the take back where you can simply go with the product, you tap with any phone without installing any application. You can scan the product and you can say, oh, okay, I am an official collector and I can, let's say for a shoe, for recycling, and I simply tap that card and then the process is completely automated. So this is also a tool that we already have. And usually it simplifies a lot because most of these processes require this traceability of who did what on what product, and this is an essential part of our software that is already built in.
Got it. Okay, so I know you mentioned a bit about how different companies might need the circular economy for different use cases. So what measures does LoopID take to ensure flexibility in the product or in the solution and customization for these specific use cases?
Yeah, so I think this comes back to the open source focus, where we're trying to define, okay, we're trying to put into the open source our experiences. Every time we have a prototype, we learn something and we put it back in the software, and we want others to benefit from it. And we can say, hey, look, we don't do it like this because this didn't work for this and this reason. And this also forces us to build it in a very modular way, so it is very easy to extend the core of our solution so that it can easily adapt. We try to when we make technical decisions, it's not a one-way door. We simply say, you know what? One of the examples, we don't build with, oh, this only works on this blockchain, right? This is an essential part. Most of the tracking and ledgers that are being stored are backed up in the centralized storage, as well as in basically each product becomes an NFT token with its history. And we don't say, oh, we force you into X blockchain. We actually give alternatives to say, look, we build it in a way that is very easy for you. If you want to decide into different blockchain solution or something that we're building right now, maybe you want your own app chain so that you can have a better way to control the pricing so that it doesn't spike or it's not so volatile. So this is one of the examples where we try to be very modular at the time of building, and happy if someone comes and say, you know what, I want to integrate with one of our tooling or one of specific model of technology we use, just make a PR and we will review it, and if it makes sense, we'll add it into the main versions.
Yeah, definitely. So as with any like new technology or new idea, there's like bound to be challenges. What challenges do you see companies facing in their transition towards a circular economy, and how will LoopID address these challenges?
Right now, one of the main challenges that they have is this interoperability topic, and another one is when they build these solutions. Usually, the problem when you combine digital with physical products is many times we forget it and we don't update it, and then it becomes the digital aspect of it dies. And one of the examples is you have car battery that, or an electric car, it ends up in a different continent 30 years from now. You want to recycle it, or whoever wants to take care of it in this country, but like, how do I see exactly the materials or disassembly instructions from this car battery? And then maybe it has a QR code, or they Google the company, or they find a logo and the link is there, right? And this is something that that we definitely help companies, because the circularity is a long-term play, and this might be things that start kicking in many years in the future. And in our case, by building with decentralized technologies, we can ensure that most of this crucial data remains there even if the company is no longer there, even if the car company is no longer there, the recycler is going to be able to check the information and it's going to be able to trace it back to the origin and verify it. So this is just one of the examples of one of the main challenges, that is how you make technology that is future proof to really leverage this and make this marriage between the physical and the digital world in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like something I would like to ask is like obviously every product kind of has like a target audience. Um, what exactly would you say the target audience is for LoopID? And could you provide examples of industries where LoopID solutions are particularly impactful?
Um, yeah, thanks. I will say right now, um, right now we are looking for brands that are front runners on sustainability, and they are really they already recognize the importance of the circular transformation. I think this is the main key, because these are the main drivers of what is going to be the best practices in a few years for circular business models, right? Um, Next to that, it's builders. Let's say startups that find value on being able to trace the products or build processes on top of physical products. Um, Definitely will happy to share, because you don't have to build most of this stuff from scratch. You can leverage, and this is why we want to say, hey, here is what we have. You can build on top of it, and you can commercially use it on top of it, so that you can make a business and don't have to reinvent how to create a DID, a decentralized ID, how to store it into IPFS, how do I make it so every time, how to import the data from the product management system or information system from companies, so that you can simply use what is already there. And then there is a third group that we have not actively involved, but this is something that we're changing in the near future, and it's end consumers. We want to bring awareness of circular process, of what is going to be the common behavior or the common things to expect from our products. So we say, expect more from our products, expect them to last longer, expect for better and more information about repairability. This is something that has a lot of force in Europe right now. And if someone follows Luis Rossmann, I also have the bias to believe, and I'm one of them, that is also taking off in the US with the right to repair. So this is another segment that we want to involve, because at the end, the consumer has the last word, and these processes needs to be adopted by the end consumer. If not, they make no sense, right? If no one is going to use them, if you have repair options, but it's not easy enough or cheap enough, then it's not going to stick.
Absolutely. Since you are digitalizing physical products, I assume you would have to comply with some regulations in the physical world. And so, how does LoopID ensure compliance with those regulations, and how do you keep your solutions up to date with evolving legal requirements?
That's one very very discussed topic in here, because here usually in Europe it's first a regulation and then the innovation, which is a weird way of going forward. And this is something that we, of course, it's a bit of a pain. You have to make sure that everything fits within the regulations. You have to make sure that, okay, what kind of data I'm storing, is it GDPR compliant? If it's not, okay, this data has to be treated differently. We have go through the effort to keep updated on each of these regulations, and this is also one of the reasons where we say, there is a lot of documents, many documents, thousands and thousands of pages of saying, how this solution should look like, how the data could potentially or should be handled. I said, but I don't see any library where I can say, you know what, I will just use the library that the European Commission gives me for defining what data should be in the product. Why not? So we said, well, if it doesn't exist, we will do the closest thing. And this is also one of the pains that people can take off their shoulders, where they say, we make sure that all the tooling in our infrastructure is already compliant, so that you don't have to worry about, am I storing this in the right way or not? If you use the default way, then you're using our way, which doesn't mean it's perfect, but at least you know that you're sharing how we're doing things, and we're already investing a lot into making sure this makes sense and that this is compliant. Another thing to mention, my co-founder and myself, we were part of the European regulatory sandbox for blockchain. I'm not sure if I can right now still discuss what we had in these talks, but basically this will become public by the European Union. But this is basically conversations that we have directly with regulators in the European Commission, where they like to understand the use cases of blockchain, and we also have a two-way communication of how we see things going, what things make sense, what not. So this is also part of this effort to try to stay on top of the regulations and make sure that what we're building, it's up to date with them.
Okay, got it. So I guess like transitioning to like the flip side. So what role does LoopID play in helping companies navigate regulatory challenges and meet these circular economy goals?
One of the main challenges that we support is on the traceability, for example. There's a big discussion on Scope 3 emissions, how companies are going to be able to measure them, how is that going to work. So this is one. We have a saying, or at least Christian says it a lot: you cannot fix it if you cannot measure it. And there is a lot. Once a product leaves the hands of the manufacturer, usually they completely lose traceability of it, how it's used, how long it has been used, where it ends up. But by having a better idea of, this is how many products we have been able to recycle, or this is how many products, the lifespan of each one of our products, that we can look on how to make them better. By having this data, companies can know exactly what things to improve and what impact their measures have. And this is one of the things that we support them the most, with basically giving this capability to the companies to know what happened with their products, what kind of impact they have, how is the life cycle of their products, and to translate that into the reporting that they have to do, which right now it's mainly about reporting, but soon enough it's going to be about, you have limits on your emissions, so you have to compensate them. So it's better to start working on that right now.
Yeah, that sounds great. Transitioning to future directions of LoopID, what are the future plans and aspirations for your company, both in terms of the product development as well as the impact within the circular economy space? And are there any partnerships or collaborations that we should look forward to?
Yeah, so future plans, we are, I think that the main goal that we have right now, it's basically make this matching between companies that need like these end solutions, and also builders that are like, I'm building something similar, and I could leverage this so that we can quickly go to market, or quickly have something already compatible with what this company uses. So our closer plans, let's say our future plans in the near future, are about building this, getting more people involved, and get a bit of critical mass within the open source project, so that also we have more people contributing back to the source code, so that it gets We want this to be in the hands of the people, in hands of the builders. We will be the main maintainers for now, at least, so that you know that it's going to be there long term and it's going to be supported. But we really want to see a lot of circular business cases and solutions built on top of it. And this is one of our main goals, specifically because we know if there are two parties that are building on top, there are compatible also between them. And I think this is a lot of value. And then the other question about partnerships and collaboration. Right now, we are defining which is going to be so we have a default path for everything on the open source, on the tech stack. And one thing that we have not defined is which is going to be the default blockchain where things are deployed, right? If you come and self-host, you have a one-click deployment and you want to start creating use cases and trace products where this is going to be stored and in which ledger the events are going to be stored by default, where the first smart contracts are going to be deployed, or first smart factories are going to be deployed, smart contract factories. We have yet not decided. We have not an explicit collaboration with any layer 2. That is specifically what we're looking, or hopefully with already plans of L3s, as mentioning with solutions for custom app chains. We have seen Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism are some of the candidates. So this is one that we would like to have a partnership. We say, hey, we want to make this the default way to have the ledger in the circular economy. And the other one is, as mentioned before, companies and builders. There is an industry in specific. So we've tried to build a solution in a way that is across industry, so that it doesn't matter what kind of product. Of course, I think there is just one industry we don't focus on, or I think it's not that well served, and it's for very small price products or consumables specifically, because then it's hard to argue why you need to give so much traceability on something that is just consumed. It's more about the packaging. So if it's about packaging in specific, maybe that's not so much focus, but everything else for physical products, furniture, clothes, and this specific one, electronics. We have a lot of very interesting use cases already built in for electronics. So if there is anyone out there that say, oh, we make electronics, we care about circular economy, definitely should to us a message that will be very interesting for us. And I think we have also a very good opportunity and option for these companies in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. So then I guess moving on to more of the business side, I guess LoopID is in early development. Would you say there are plans for fundraising?
So right now we close a pre-seed round. So we are not, let's say, actively closing a round in the next in the close term. They usually say a startup is always fundraising, so of course we're always happy to connect and start communicating and exchanging for the next round, for the seed round. But currently, let's say it's not. We're good to. We have what we need for the focus on our next 18 months. But of course, happy to connect with founders as well in the US, where the topic is also starting to get more and more influence, and a lot of the regulations that kick in here in Europe influence all products being sold or put in use in Europe. Meaning, if you're a producer in the US, it's also gonna affect you. So I think it's gonna become more and more a topic in the US. So we're also open to investment from the US. We don't have a token right now, so if you have a token thesis, so far we don't have it. but I mean, it's still early. There's things that might change. But for now, there are no plans for making the LoopID coin. So yeah, that's on the side of fundraising for now.
Yeah. That kind of wraps up our questions for you, but is there anything else you'd like our audience to know about LoopID or your vision for the circular economy?
I think the main message for people I would like to take from this is the circular economy is coming. The linear economy is going to die. I mean, it's gonna go down, or we're gonna go down with it, one way or another. And I also like this idea of having a product that lasts longer, to having better quality products. And I struggle a lot to believe companies that have made the best quality products struggle in the business side. Um, it should not be like that. There is many examples of companies that made a product so good that, oh yeah, people didn't buy another one. They just could repair the one they had, and then the company goes out of business. I don't think that makes sense. And if you think that also doesn't make sense, and if you believe there is a different way to do things, and there is a more sustainable things to handle our consumption, connect with us. If you're a builder, if you are a company, or if you are simply someone that believes on this vision, contact us. We're happy to exchange, and to get to know more people with this idea.
Cool. Great. Well, yeah, I guess that kind of like concludes the discussion. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us and teaching us more about LoopID. It was really fun, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks to you, and like we say in Costa Rica, pura vida.